AML compliance monitoring and reporting. In this tutorial, we will delve into the crucial topic of AML compliance monitoring and reporting, which forms a vital part of the overall compliance procedures and controls in anti-money laundering (AML) initiatives. Understanding compliance monitoring. Compliance monitoring involves the systematic review and assessment of an organization's AML controls policies and procedures to ensure they are effectively implemented and compliant with applicable laws and regulations. This process aims to identify and mitigate any vulnerabilities or gaps in the AML program. Importance of compliance monitoring. Compliance monitoring plays a critical role in maintaining the integrity and effectiveness of an organization's AML framework. It helps to identify potential red flags, detect suspicious activities, and evaluate the overall AML risk exposure. Additionally, it assists in addressing deficiencies promptly and implementing necessary remedial measures to enhance the AML program's efficacy. Conducting compliance monitoring begins with establishing a monitoring plan, which involves defining the scope and objectives of the monitoring activities, identifying key risk areas to be monitored, and determining the frequency and sampling methodology for the monitoring reviews. Next, in reviewing policies and procedures, the focus is on evaluating the adequacy and suitability of AML policies and procedures, verifying compliance with relevant regulatory requirements, and assessing the effectiveness of these policies and procedures in mitigating money laundering risks. The process continues with assessing customer due diligence (CDD) procedures, which includes reviewing the implementation of CDD measures for new and existing customers, evaluating the adequacy of customer identification and verification procedures, and ensuring compliance with enhanced due diligence requirements for high-risk customers. In the transaction monitoring and reporting stage, the effectiveness of transaction monitoring systems and tools is reviewed along with the appropriateness of thresholds, rules, and scenarios used for detection and the timely reporting of suspicious transactions to the relevant authorities is verified. Furthermore, internal controls and governance are assessed to evaluate the effectiveness of the internal controls framework, review the independence and competence of the AML compliance function, and evaluate management's oversight and involvement in AML compliance. Testing and sampling involve conducting transaction testing to ensure adherence to AML controls, sampling a representative set of transactions for review purposes, and evaluating the effectiveness of the AML program based on the test results. Finally, documenting findings and remediation includes documenting all findings, including identified deficiencies or areas for improvement, prioritizing findings based on their potential impact on AML compliance, and developing and implementing remediation plans to address the identified gaps. In the context of reporting and communication, the process begins with management reporting, where a comprehensive report summarizing the findings from monitoring activities is prepared. This report is then presented to senior management and relevant stakeholders, including recommendations aimed at enhancing anti-money laundering, AML controls, and mitigating associated risks. Moving on to regulatory reporting, it is imperative to adhere to the regulatory requirements for reporting on AML monitoring activities. This includes reporting any suspicious transactions to the appropriate regulatory authorities and maintaining meticulous documentation of all reporting activities to ensure transparency and accountability. Lastly, staff training and awareness are critical components where the monitoring findings are communicated to the relevant staff members. This step involves providing targeted training to address identified deficiencies and share best practices, thereby fostering a culture of compliance and awareness throughout the organization, which is essential for the effective implementation and sustainability of AML controls. In conclusion, AML compliance, monitoring, and reporting are crucial components of an effective AML program. By conducting regular monitoring activities, organizations can identify vulnerabilities, rectify gaps, and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements. Reporting the findings and implementing remedial measures further strengthens the overall anti-money laundering framework, reducing the risk of financial crime